Good morning, friends. Happy Wednesday. Today is the last Wednesday of the fourth grade school year. Are you so excited? 2 more days. You got this. Tomorrow is today and tomorrow, because then Friday we're doing a just a lunch and discussion and go over our slides. So when we look at yesterday's assignments, I didn't go into the slide this morning, so I will go check and see if I have more people that turned it in. But we have some people that need some work to do for Dreambox. Ramel, I saw that you did an extra 15 minutes, so you just have an extra 15 minutes today, and this will be gone. A couple of you have an hour, so get on it. And what else? And the discussion. So today, 4 people got a bonus day, and I'll tell you why. Yesterday, your question was, tell me what you learned about the moon. And it's a written response, right? So, a written response is where you explain your thinking as if somebody who hasn't read the book can understand it. What did you learn about the moon in today's lesson? I thought this was a layup, right? I thought you could easily have been able to put at least 2 to 4 sentences, right? There were so many things that we learned about the moon. You had to erase your response. That means you restate the question and answer it. Then you put some citation from the text. 4 people wrote more than one sentence. I mean, I had it right here. Halfway through the day, I wrote this in here, so it looks like many of you are writing one thing you learned, but I know many things could have been learned about the moon. Please list more than one. Sample topic sentence. I learned a few things about the moon, right? Now, let's look. So Jackson, that book was awesome. Didn't answer it. I learned that the moon rotates even though we can't see it. That's definitely a great answer, but did we need more information, right? So you start off with that blanket statement. I learned many things about the moon today, right? One thing that stood out was the moon rotates even though we don't see it. We only see one side of the moon at all times, right? That would have been a great 3-sentence because you explained your detail, right? Why don't we see it? After watching this lesson, I know that the moon has different phases. Also, it circles around the Earth. Plus, people in the past thought that the moon had a face. Now, Jason, I'm going to pause this right now because I need to send you that email too. 1 moment, please. Ramel, one thing I learned about the moon is that the phase of the moon changes, but the actual features on the moon always stay the same. This is an awesome, complex sentence, right? If you wanted to make this a really clear statement, you could have said, I learned one thing about the moon, period. The phases of the moon change, but the actual features of the moon always stay the same. Why do the phases of the moon change? Because the way the sun is reflecting, right? And the Earth is blocking it, right? So it's the sun that changes the phase of the moon. It always stays the same, but the phases change. I learned that the moon is so big and bright because it's closer. Closer to what? Right? But again, that's one sentence. I learned that the moon does rotate, but we can't see it rotate. But it's one sentence. Why don't we see it rotate? What did it say? What I learned today about the moon is it rotates around the Earth. Every 25 days, there's a full moon. The full moon is a 360-degree view of the entire moon. Now, awesome job, Sayer. You answered you had at least 2 to 4 sentences, right? The one thing I just want to say is that it is not a 360-degree, well, I guess it is a 360 degrees because you see the whole circle, but we only see half the moon, right? We never see the other side. So it's actually, we're seeing half of a moon, but you're right, it is a 360-degree circle. Sorry, I had to think for a second. I learned that the Earth has 1 moon. It does. It does. But are you explaining with details from the text? Is this more than 2 sentences? And then Samuel, In today's lesson, I learned many things about the moon. I learned that our moon is the brightest and biggest light in our night sky because it is very close to the Earth. Oh, wow, that explains. I learned that Earth has one moon, right? Or I learned that it's big and bright because it's closer, right? This explains why it's big and bright and closer. The biggest and brightest light in the night sky because it's very close to the Earth. In addition, I learned that the Earth only has one moon. The moon is about 238,000 miles from the Earth, and like the Earth, it reflects the light of the sun. In the book, I read that the moon has no life, no air, and it's made of rock and dust. Also, in ancient times, people had many different ideas about what the moon was. The Romans believed the moon was a god they called Diana, and the Indians thought the moon was the sun, were the brother and sister gods. Lastly, some people told stories about the shadows on the moon. Some people saw a man's face, while others believed demons lived on the moon. I learned a lot about the moon from this book. That's effort, right? That's putting a lot of effort in, a lot of time, a lot of going back, right? You had to almost take notes while you were reading, right? So, Jacqueline, awesome job for doing that or commenting. That's really nice when you're celebrating other friends. I learned that the moon rotates. Yep, but more than one sentence. I know that the lunar eclipse and I know about the lunar eclipse and I've known about it for a while now, and we are finally learning about it together. All right, so anybody else notice that could be a run-on sentence? Yeah. If I was to fix this, I would say, I know about the lunar eclipse and I've known about it for a while now, period. We are all finally learning about it together. Now, in that lesson today, Tuesday, we didn't learn about the lunar eclipse. We're learning about it today. I learned that the moon could have been a part of the Earth and we just don't know it, and that the moon rotates. All right. In today's moon lesson, I learned that the moon actually rotates even though we can't see it and people say it doesn't, but it does. Also, I learned that the moon is the biggest light in our sky. Simple as that. She wrote 2 sentences. She got a bonus day. I learned that the moon doesn't shine on its own for one reason, because the light on the sun reflects on it so that it can get more light. Secondly, some Native Americans thought the moon were brother and sister. Is it the moon were brother and sister, or the moon and the earth were brother and sister? In today's lesson, I learned that the moon rotates and we cannot see it rotating. In addition, the reason why we cannot see it rotating is because we only see half of the moon. The moon rotates on an axis and it takes 365 days to do a full rotation. Lastly, that is why it looks like the moon looks always the same. She took one idea and explained it. What I learned in today's lesson is the stars give out the light, heat and light. The planet reflects the sunlight, revolves around the sun. Awesome. Right? 2 sentences. Easy as that. Great job, Azria. Check your mailbox. I learned that the moon can change shape into a full moon after lots and lots of days. Is it changing its shape, or is the shadow changing? Right? That phase of the moon is the shadow from the Earth blocking that portion of the sun. Right? Today we're going to learn a little bit more about the blocking of the sun with the lunar and solar eclipse. So let's go to today. Today's lesson is, you're going to read the next section of the book, and you're just going to tell me what is the difference between a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. Now, I gave 2 videos so you can watch them. They're quick little videos. Use races. Restate, answer, explain with information from the text. I know you don't have the text in front of you, but can you go back and look at it? Yes. I would write it down as you're doing it. Get a piece of paper and just start writing, right? Lunar eclipse is this. Solar eclipse is this. Pause the video. So Ace wrote, a solar eclipse covers the sun up, the lunar eclipse doesn't. If I didn't know about the moon, I would have no idea what a lunar eclipse or solar eclipse are. From your response, please edit and explain. A solar eclipse covers the sun up, the lunar eclipse doesn't. What are we talking about? What's covering up the sun? A blanket, a towel, right? You gotta be specific in your answers. You can't just assume that I know what you're talking about. The difference between a lunar and a solar eclipse is not that hard to explain. Great topic sentence, Jackson. The lunar eclipse doesn't cover the sun. The moon faces the shadow of the sun to give it color. A solar eclipse is when the moon covers the sun and creates a shadow across the earth. We can't see it, but there are 2 ways we can see it. The first one is the news. The second one is tinfoil on the bottom of the cereal box, but the bottom has to be cut out. Great. Nice answer. I'm going to give this one a 2, even though you didn't capitalize a couple words. right? Period, what should happen? Capital. And here, we cannot see it, but a solar eclipse when the moon covers the sun and creates a shadow across the earth. I would put a period here. We can't see it, but there are two ways we can see it, period. The first one. So nice job, Jackson. All right, that's all you have to do. Listen about the lunar and solar eclipse. Once you're done, do your dream box for 30 minutes. You're done Wednesday. One more day. Do your best, guys. You can do it. And no Zoom tomorrow. We're going to Zoom on Friday. In your updates, click on it. There is a poll. We're going to meet either 11 or 12 for a little lunch and go over our slideshow. I have 4 votes for 12. I have 2 votes for 11. All right. Have a happy Wednesday, guys. Oh, I have a morning wake up. Do you want to say good morning, friends? Here he is. He just woke up. Good morning, friends. I hope you have a great day, guys. Happy Wednesday.